Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
A very good afternoon to you, Thursday the 16th of May. Thank you, Denise, for that super chat, $4.99. Get some of that, Denise. And we are having a party, Denise, in June. So I think Lynn wanted to come. I was going to have it earlier in June, but it will be later in June, I think. So people can get there. But I will set a date. I'll put a date out for you on Sunday night. But we should have our YouTube money back. And we can all have some food and a coffee or two, or whatever it is you prefer to drink. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. Many of you have been in touch and lots been going on in the main to do with Oldham Council. I just wanted to get some nonsense out of the way first, and of course, please, this is a free-to-air transmission. Feel free to share, like. If you find value in my work, there's a link to buy me a coffee at the top. Please consider buying me a coffee, or as Denise has done, a super chat. This is how I earn my living, I suppose. So that's what I'm asking you for. Interestingly, lost another wave of subscribers over the last couple of days. Now the election has been won. Now the election has been won. Some of the supporters or accounts of some of the councillors and their supporters have clearly decided I am of no more value. So that's, of course, is absolutely fine. It's your money and you do as you please, which is why I ask every time, if you find value in my work, buy me a coffee or a samosa if it's not too racist for you. Thank you, Susan, for sharing and liking. Now I want to get some nonsense out of the way first. I'm not sure what's up with Paul Boots, Eric. I was asked today to contact Mr. Meir. I'm not sure why he feels the urge to put it on his Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth page, which, by the way, I'm blocked from viewing, so I'll just move along. I'm blocked from viewing, so I'm not sure what the what this is about. It's like he's just attention seeking, I think, is what he's doing, if you were to ask me. And you know, rock star and all of that. I was asked to contact Mr. Meir, ? I was on my way back from Scotland. However, I did give him a tinkle at 1851. I've no issue talking to anyone, including Raja. Well, Paul, you've called me regularly for the last 4 years or so, at least, I think, Paul. And I've called you back, and I've never had to go to social media to say I've not took your call. I'll tell you what happened. Paul did give me a missed call at 1851, which is 6:51. I wasn't available to take the call. It's probably I get, give or take, 100 messages, phone calls, whatnot, emails a day. And my rule is really simple. Leave a message and I'll call you back. If it's important, I'm sure people will leave a message. If it is not important, then you'll call me back. But I've never gone to Facebook and said, well, I called him. And who asked you? Who asked you to contact me? Bizarre behaviour. Actually, I was with my sister. It was her birthday the day before and I'd gone for a coffee with her. So that's where I was on Tuesday. And no, he didn't leave a message. And as all of you know who are tuned in here, if you contact me via Messenger, if you contact me via WhatsApp, however, Telegram, I always respond to you. But if someone's given me a missed call and not left a message, then I just assumed it wasn't important. Bizarre behaviour. Equally bizarre behaviour is Naveed Tariq Chauhan. Councillor Chauhan has took to social media. Now, exposed is the wrong one. I questioned Councillor Chauhan's choice of raising a Pakistani Imran Khan party's flag. The PTI, I think it's called. At a demonstration in Oldham. This is a newly elected councillor. His first public appearance since getting elected. And he's waving around a political flag from a different country. Naveed wants to share the old Schools Week stuff, which of course I've debunked, demystified, and we've gone through that all many years ago with all of you. And if any of this was true, if any of this had been true, then I would be in trouble. But which I'm not, by the way, investigated and all that, but what I find absolutely outrageous by that man is that he is linking an article at the bottom. You can see it, Naveed Tariq Chauhan linking an article at the bottom, which is Jim McMahon's article calling me a racist and a far-right activist. You absolute scumbag, Naveed. We have fought, the people of this town have fought for a public inquiry into the confirmed grooming and gang rape of our town's children. And we have demonstrated it's a cover-up. And all the mainstream parties are on board with us, apart from the Labour Party, and possibly your lot by the looks of it, the Oldham Group, for a public inquiry into the cover-up. We've risked our reputations, our livelihoods, and in my case, my life. And this scumbag is taken to Facebook to promote Jim McMahon, calling me a racist and a far-right activist, hiding behind parliamentary privilege. Disgraceful behaviour. Why? Because I questioned your divisive sectarian politics. I called it out for what it is. The traitors of the Ummah. How dare he, your boss, post that? This is a liberal Western democracy. And we will fight for it to remain a liberal Western democracy. Disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. Okay. Yesterday, one of my sources contacted me. You have tiers of sources, don't you? This one is up there at the top. To tell me that MARC Hince, the Shaw and Crompton independent councillor, was meeting with AROOJ SHAH. Now remember, MARC Hince had issued a statement confirming, prior to the election, confirming there would be no coalition, no support. So I was somewhat alarmed. And then I cross-referenced it. And yeah, MARC Hince is meeting with AROOJ SHAH. I told you on Sunday night or Monday night, whenever it was, I think Monday night, the last transmission I did, of how AROOJ SHAH was now going out there to try and get the independents to support her. Because the Conservatives had said no, the Lib Dems had said no. She needed independents to get to the numbers, ideally. And then absolute silliness started from MARC Hince. He first of all, I'll bring this up, responded to Sue, who's on here. First of all, responded to Sue. We have already stated we will not enter into a formal coalition with Labour. And I don't blame any of you. You read that and you take it at face value. Okay, a relief. No, he was playing on words. formal coalition. So that leaves a lot of wriggle room. It's playing on words. Informal coalition, supply and demand, prop up AROOJ SHAH, all of that is open to interpretation there. So Anthony chases him up. Is Raja correct when he said you might prop up AROOJ SHAH? And by the way, when Sue asked him to clarify, he blocked her. This is a serving councillor to a polite member of the public saying, well, will you clarify what that means? Will you prop up AROOJ SHAH or not? Simple yes or a no, isn't it? And he blocks her. So Anthony then asks him the question, and you can see Tony Martin's avatar just higher up. Is Raja correct when he said you might prop up AROOJ SHAH? Are you going to answer the question? Is he or isn't he? So Mark Hince responds, thinking he's still signed in to the Crompton Facebook page. I'm confident Councillor Hince, so he's talking about himself in the third party. This will be like stupidity, yeah? Multiple personas, multiple accounts, don't know which account to turn on at which time. You can see him, can't you? I'm confident Councillor Hince will work towards the best interests of the residents of Shaw and the wider community. That wasn't the question, was it? Mark, you're not bright enough for this. You're going to have a breakdown, lad. And I reckon people are going to chase you down the streets of Shaw as a consequence of your duplicity and taking people for fools. Because people are not fools. Anthony asked you a legitimate question. You hide behind a different account, but then forget that you're not hiding behind that account and you're posting as yourself. And you write in the third person, I'm confident Councillor Hince will work towards the best interests of the residents of Shaw and the wider community. So Anthony then says, if he's going to prop up AROOJ SHAH, he's finished. Lisa Navesey gets involved somewhere, and I can't say it, but Lisa gets, and she doesn't even know what a public inquiry is. So Peter Murray is explaining to the newly elected councillor Lisa Navesey, that's what a public inquiry is. You don't just get to pick and choose what is looked at. I understand you're new, though, so I can see why you may be a little confused. There's nothing confusing about it. Mark Hince is now not only avoiding the question, I think that tells its own story of whether he's getting into bed with AROOJ SHAH, he's also issuing statements where he's avoiding referencing a public inquiry. Now, he knows what a public inquiry is because I've sat there and told him what a public inquiry is. And sorry, Dorothy, all of this stuff I'm not interested in, please. Not at all. I'm a very serious man, trying to do something very serious. And when people put up posts that are reference to people's personal lives and stuff like that, it's not for me, please. This is a serious issue right now that concerns the future of our town. And what will happen is these people go and pick up on that and then focus on that to distract us from what's really important. And this is what's really important, is what are the consequences should Mark Hince prop up AROOJ SHAH? Let's have some context. Charlotte O'Hall wrote this. The standoff for Oldham Council's leadership. Two possible candidates for Oldham Council's leaders have emerged after a week of chaotic negotiations between the borough's political groups. The Lib Dem boss will spearhead a rainbow alliance, I don't know where that term came from, between his group, the Conservatives, and the Oldham Group. So Labour have 27. Councillor Shah acknowledges we'll have to work differently. It'll require councillors, officers and partners to step up and be open to new ideas. A time for grown-up politics rather than party squabbles. The Lib Dems rejected a deal with Labour, so Labour went crying to the Lib Dems, and the Lib Dems kept to their word in the lead up to the election, where we made, I asked them a question publicly and they responded and said they won't be entering a pact. Councillor Sykes said, claimed? How can he claim it? He's stating it. Discussions were ongoing with other independents and that the aim was not a coalition but a pact between people with aligned interests. And that means you vote Councillor Sykes over the line, first and foremost. At next week's election. The first thing is you've got to vote Councillor Sykes. The coalition currently appears to be formed of 9 Liberal Democrats, 8 Conservatives and 4 independents from the Oldham Group. Remember, he was claiming he had 10. As in Navi Chauhan's boy, KAMMY G. Although it is rumoured that there could be as many as 10 independents involved in the talks. She has no idea what she's talking about. Councillor Shah said of the alliance, like me, the people of Oldham will be curious to know what this last-minute, cobbled-together coalition of chaos really stands for. Well, we know what you stand for, AROOJ Shah. You stand for the ongoing cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our town's children. The Lib Dem boss said, Labour have lost control. Things need to change for the better for Oldham Borough. We have stated our priorities from day one. True, they have. Separately, AROOJ Shah issued this statement, and let me bring it up bigger so you can see it. Give me a second. That's better. She posted this statement. AROOJ Shah statement. Oldham deserves a council which works for them, not a coalition of chaos. Some of you may not have seen this. Writing exclusively for the Local Democracy Reporting Service, Councillor Shah said, as I have said before, the people of Oldham have spoken. Yes. 3 council leaders in a row, AROOJ Shah, which you are one of them, and now we've taken the council out of Labour Party hands. You started off with 47 councillors when we started. You're now on 27. We took 20 seats off you. Whilst we are obviously disappointed that we didn't retain an overall majority on the council, we are grateful to the thousands of residents who backed us to continue leading Oldham into a brighter future. While it is clear we still have more listening to do, and we need to renew our efforts to reach out to all Oldham residents and communities, our plans to rejuvenate our town centres and high streets, build new homes and improve work and training opportunities for our children and young people received broad backing. She just made that up. If you received broad backing, you would not have lost the number of councillors you did. The numbers are clear. Labour councillors currently hold 27 out of 60 seats. That makes you a minority now. You no longer have control of the council. That's what the numbers are clearly showing. And with 3 times more seats than the party who came second, the majority of Oldham residents want us, not them. Actually, that's not how democracy works, AROOJ Shah. You might like it to be that way. To lead the town forward and deliver the services we all value, does anyone really believe the majority of Oldham residents want AROOJ Shah in charge of the town? We'll find out at the council where the first vote will be whether AROOJ SHAH has the support of the majority of councillors. It'll be a straightforward vote. Howard Sykes will have put the amendment in straightforward vote. How many want AROOJ SHAH as leader? They'll all put their hand up, all 27 of them. At that point, we'll see if MARC Hince and Lisa Nafesy put up their hands with them. And if they do, it'll take it to 29. And then we'll see how many of the others say not AROOJ SHAH. This isn't, first of all, an election of Howard Sykes. It's first of all an election to see whether the majority of councillors accept AROOJ SHAH. We acknowledge that we acknowledge that in leading a minority administration, we'll have to work differently. Well, to work differently, how are you currently working now? I mean, that's what I'd say. If you've got to do things differently, what are you doing now that you'll do differently? It will require councillors, officers and partners to step up and be open to new ideas. What new ideas? I've got it. An ice cream shop. Let's have Irish image ice cream shops with ice cream vans going up and down the streets patrolling. Double up as a late night street patrol. New ideas. A time for grown-up politics. Really? Really? Wheelie? A town for grown-up politics rather than party squabbles. I believe this is what the people of Oldham were looking for. No, the people of Oldham were looking to march you out of town. That's what the people of Oldham were looking for. To march you and the samosa nibbler out of town. And if we had the choice, whilst we've been, marched out of town, we'd be throwing rotten fruit at you if this was a different time in the world. That's what the people of Oldham, I think, want. Is you to be no longer in power. As the leader of the largest group by far, I will take the lead in making that happen. I remain open to discussions. I remain open to discussing the needs and priorities of those areas where Labour doesn't represent the people. Well, where do you represent the people? You don't represent the people anywhere. So we can build a plan for the entire borough which the whole council can deliver. Delusional. Today I'm inviting councillors who represent those areas, irrespective of party or group, to respond to my invitation to talk about how best to move forward. So that's where the invitation with MARC Hince went. Do you see? That's where it comes from. Sadly, despite several conversations with the Lib Dems leadership about incorporating their ideas into our plans, according to media reports, they have declined to cooperate. So they didn't even bother responding your call. That's how much you're despised. They didn't even respond telling you to get stuffed. Now, despite only securing 9 seats, they plan to try and lead a coalition propped up by the Conservatives, who only hold 8 seats on the council. Well, that takes them to 17, doesn't it? That's just 10 sort of you, AROOJ SHAH. One thing is certain. No matter who you voted for, no one in Oldham voted for that. Well, how many people in Oldham voted for you, AROOJ? You had to go and hide out in your Pakistani stronghold in St Mary's, in Glodick, and rely on dodgy deals with Aftab and your cartel block votes to get over the line. Because in any ward where those influences don't come into play and postal votes aren't handed in by the bucketful, you wouldn't win. You didn't even get in St Mary's through a fair process. You kicked out, or someone kicked out the existing councillor, and you're imposed on them. The Labour Party in St Mary's didn't even get to have a chance to vote you as their candidate. So St Mary's didn't vote for you, AROOJ. Never mind, no one in Oldham voted for this coalition. That might happen. Like me, no one's like you. The people of Oldham will be curious to know what this last-minute cobbled-together coalition of chaos really stands for, rather than what they stand against, or even worse, what they stand against. Well, I'll tell you what they stand against. Apart from MARC HINCE and Lisa Navesey, it seems, they stand against the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our town's children, and all of them support a public inquiry. That's what they stand against. The grooming and gang rape of what? Hundreds? Thousands? You won't even give us a number. So I can only assume that number is high, of our town's children. Rather than what they stand against, or even worse, what they stand to gain. I think they stand to gain removing you and going down as legends. I think that's exactly the point. So we would like to vacate the leadership. That's what we want. No one wants the council to waste the next 24 months bickering, posturing and playing politics with people's lives. Well, there is things we can do, AROOJ SHAH, to stop that from happening. We can call in the government to take over the council. If you all can't figure it out amongst yourselves, we can call in the government and they'll take over the council. It's called special measures. I also want to be very clear. I was going to say really, really clear. Labour has and always will stand with the vast majority of hard-working, decent people in Oldham. Sadly, in recent times, we have seen outside voices and people determined to stir up hatred and division, establish a foothold in our communities. This for Labour is a red line which cannot be crossed. No, but the gang rape of children can be crossed and is not a red line. But the red line is people who stir up hatred and division. No one, of course, has stirred up any hatred or division in this town. There's been no far-right campaigns. There have been no marches down the street. Rather, it's been a committed cross-community alliance of people, many of them pensioners, who have mobilised to vote out the Labour Party. We will not work with those who don't respect the people of Oldham, share our collective values, or have exploited a wide range of issues well beyond the boundaries of Oldham Council to further their own self-promotion and personal situation. AROOJ SHAH. I presume the last bit is the Gaza reference. The Labour Party literature, you silly woman. The campaign literature that you posted through people's letterboxes focused almost exclusively on Gaza with a picture of you on the front of it with the Palestinian ambassador. Are we meant to have forgotten that? Absolute. The hypocrisy, the duplicity. These people are shameless. These people, AROOJ SHAH and her team, are absolutely shameless. I am today setting out some of the challenges and opportunities we face to start the process of getting Oldham Council back to work. This bit I need to highlight so you see it. You can be, so am I. So am I. I'm also convinced that McMahon writes her stuff for her. And she's a little fantasist, Gary. You're right. She is a little fantasist. Some in our town... Sorry, that's I can't get rid of that. Some in our town suffered unimaginable hurt and horror, and they need to be heard. We are looking to work with colleagues to ensure vulnerable people who were failed by those in authority have access to justice, and we will create an independent survivors commission. independent of the council and the influence of politics, so that survivors can determine what they want and need, as well as determining the needs of reference for any further review. What is she talking about? Who in our town suffered unimaginable hurt? Is it those who've been food poisoned from the one-star chicken shops on Yorkshire Street that double up for cartel money laundering activities? Is that the unimaginable hurt and horror that she's making reference to? Maybe she's making reference to the unimaginable hurt and horror of having to look at her face in the council chamber as she stands up and talks more nonsense and reads off a script. And endure that. The residents, the people of the town who've having to endure town council meetings. She can't even, I'm going to be serious now. She can't even bring herself to say survivors of the grooming gangs. She can't even bring herself to say the children that were gang raped. She can't even bring herself to say child sexual exploitation or CSE. This is her statement. She can't even bring herself to this, to say that, and we can trust her? I'll read it again. Some in our town suffered unimaginable hurt and horror, and they need to be heard. We are looking to work with colleagues to ensure vulnerable people who were failed by those in authority have access to justice, and will create an independent survivors commission, independent of the council and the influence of politics, so that survivors can determine what they want and need, as well as determining the terms of reference for any further review. No, this is kicking the can further down the road on purpose to protect Jim McMahon, to protect Gerard Jones, to protect all the others involved in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our town's children. And she can't even bring herself to say the word child sexual exploitation. And MARC Hince wants to work with that. Lisa Navesey, a white woman from Shaw. You should be ashamed of yourself, Lisa. You should be ashamed of yourself if you're in bed with this. This is all about protecting Jim McMahon in the forthcoming election. In the coming weeks, I'll highlight this bit as well. We'll also bring a proposal forward to confirm our plans to relocate our much loved Coliseum Theatre to our new permanent home on Fairbottom Street. Pause there. Just days before the election, she stood with the Save the Coliseum lot, and I told you all it was just electioneering, it was just posturing, and the Save the Coliseum lot were being idiots for allowing her to be in that picture with her. At that point, she never had any intention of saving the Coliseum Theatre in its original building. So she's now bringing forward the proposal to confirm the plans to relocate into a performance space that isn't a theatre. Wow. She told the victims to find themselves a solicitor to get justice. And now, faced with the prospect of a motion being passed for a public inquiry. It won't go as a public inquiry, but it's a step. It's fine. She's playing politics. She can't even bring herself to say the word children or sexual exploitation. Grooming gangs. Why? How can you write a statement like this and not even bring yourself to say that? And to all of you who believed her, To all of you who believed her, about saving the Coliseum. 10 days after the election, she's back on the relocation. So where's the Save the Coliseum statement to that? Nowhere. But they allowed themselves to be pictured next to her, so she could then use that to try and get votes in the election. I'd say it was naive, but I don't think it was naive. We also want to work with local groups and community representatives on district plans, which will give them a greater say in the future of their neighbourhoods, ensuring the right services are available to all. It's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. It's like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. It's nonsense. And we will continue to drive our efforts to clean up this town through our Don't Trust Oldham programme, which has essentially been proven to have failed. Millions and millions put into it. Failed. You did, Denise, for the Coliseum. You said it was votes at the time, and they fell for it. And you're right, Julie. Typical. Barefaced lies yet again from AROOJ SHAH. Building on our existing successes, we'll establish an environmental enforcement team to make sure those who rubbish our town are held to task. And in response to what we heard while campaigning in the recent election, she wasn't out campaigning in the recent election. I don't think she was seen in St Mary's, where she's councillor. We'll widen the programme scope to take in gully cleaning, prioritise road repairs, fixing street lighting and improving other aspects of the public realm. No one believes her. Our plan for the borough is simple. We'll cover up what we can. No. Our plan for the borough is simple, according to her. We'll work around the clock to get the basics right. Again, so each and every part of the borough is clean, safe and welcoming. If you work around the clock to get the basics right again, you do realise for the last 13 years you've controlled this town. For the last 13 years, this town has been in the exclusive control of Labour, and it was only for a couple of years it wasn't. And before that, for as long as I can remember, since before I was born, it was in Labour's hands. So can we expect you got it wrong? Or she'll probably put a statement against me, Gary. But we all saw what was going on. Because they've lost control. They call us extremists and out of town, whatever. But they've lost control because what do? I simply educate you, provide you with the information, give you the analysis, and you can go away and make your own minds up. My name's Raja, not Rasputin. Yes, Lee, and vulnerable people are being shifted out of Acon Lodge Care Home as we speak by the council. Unfortunately, in recent times, the politics of this place haven't reflected those values and aspirations held dearly by the decent and good people of Oldham. So she's not taking any responsibility for that. This is a woman who posted love hearts and the offer of murder on Facebook. This is a woman who claimed her childhood friend on BBC Radio was rehabilitated when, just before the interview was published, he'd been arrested for possession of an offensive weapon and criminal damage. This is a woman who falsely presented evidence and tried to have me maliciously prosecuted and then ran away from testifying against me. This is a woman whose car was blown up, her story doesn't stack up, and the video shows that the door was left open and the window was smashed afterwards. And no one wants to talk about that. But of all of this, what disgusts me the most is that paragraph where some in our town suffered unimaginable hurt and horror, and they need to be heard. And she can't even name what type of unimaginable hurt and horror they endured, suffered. They called it barefaced lies. Explain to me, somebody in the Labour Party, explain to me, why are you blocking a public inquiry? Why are you trying to avoid it? Did you rape the children yourselves? I don't think you did. I look at Councillor Holly Harrison. Holly, did you pick up girls and take them to gangs of men to be gang raped and trafficked? You didn't. Did that happen? It did. So Holly Harrison, and I'm picking on you because you're a young white woman, a new councillor who came clean to this. Why are you supporting this? Why are you voting against a public inquiry? So that survivors can determine what they want and need, as well as determining the terms of reference for any further review. Survivors should not determine the terms of reference for any further review. They should be part of a further review, but you can't ask the survivors, you can't put that pressure on them. It's outrageous. They're not legal experts. Their role is to give evidence. Their role is to have their stories heard. So that's AROOJ Shah's outrageous statement. And MARC Hince is a man I've sat down and shared a meal with. So I'm genuinely... You know, I get politics, but now this isn't politics. This is outrageous. This is his statement that is issued just now. So he won't answer the question. He hid behind whether or not he was in negotiations with AROOJ Shah. He hid behind the Sean Crompton account and then mistakenly posted using his own account and referenced himself in the third party, making himself look even more of a fool. And he posts this, and it's a massive, statement on Facebook. I just wanted to dispel some of the rumours circulating regarding the current state of affairs within OMBC. There's only one rumour circulating that we want you to dispel. Are you in negotiations with AROOJ Shah? Are you talking to AROOJ Shah? Are you in negotiations with the Labour Party? That's all we want to know, nothing else. Firstly, in the main, these rumours are generated by external influencers who in the main have no invested interest in Oldham and are certainly not in Shaw and Crompton. So the person who asked the question has got to be from Shaw and Crompton. Well, when people from Shaw and Crompton ask that question, you still don't answer it. Are you in coalition? Are you entering into some form of propping up arrangement with AROOJ Shah? First sentence, he doesn't answer it. The Shaw and Crompton Independent's primary goal is turning around 30 years of decline in Shaw and Crompton, overseen by Howard Sykes and his Lib Dem colleagues when in power and as main opposition. Doesn't answer the question. In the past 12 months, I believe we have put our town on a pathway for improvement and growth, and through the new town council given residents a focal point for support and help in regenerating our community. In short, no one can deny our effort and commitments in working to make Shaw and Crompton better. Our continued efforts will be focused on ensuring more investment into Shaw and Crompton. Our continued efforts will be focused on ensuring more investment into Shaw and Crompton. So has AROOJ Shah bribed you? Has AROOJ Shah bribed you? because you're still not answering the question. In addition to our local commitment and efforts, we're committed to the following demands from OMBC. Still won't answer the question. The removal places for everyone. Well, she's not going to remove that because it's not her priority. So how can you be committed to something that she's not willing to do if you're going to prop her up? The implementation of Article 4. Well, she's not going to do that. A full independent inquiry into historic sex abuse. And I picked up on this last time. I'll pick up on it again. It's outrageous. He knows what a public inquiry is. And he's fudged it. He's sold out the children of this town. Remember, this man went and spoke at a public demonstration calling for a public inquiry into the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children. And now not only has he backtracked, he also tried to scupper a judge-led inquiry motion. Full council support for residents in opposing rogue installers of internet and telecoms equipment. I have been clear from the outset. Well, you've not been clear on answering the simple question. Are you in negotiations with AROOJ SHAH? That the winners of the local elections were the independents and not the main parties. Are you in negotiations with AROOJ SHAH? I have made several efforts to emphasise this and communicate with other independents with a view of forming a consensus. Are you in negotiations with AROOJ SHAH? Although some progress has been made, I have been disappointed with some, in particular the Oldham Group, who seem to be focused on what they can achieve for themselves instead of others. Oh, so now you've caught up, have you? Now you've worked it out. Did you work it out yourself, or did you listen to my transmission and thought, oh, fuck, I've been played, haven't I? You bought me off with a plate of samosas and a chicken madras. And a stale naan bread. Idiot. Did I warn him about the Oldham Group? Did I warn Eric about the Oldham Group? It's not even a week. They were nibbling samosas with him last Friday night. It seems even a future position of mayor is up for negotiation. Well, you know, the Asians like to be mayor, but, you know, chain round their neck, go around. I don't know why. I have no idea why. Listen, mate. I've read all of it so far, and you've not answered the question. Are you in negotiations with AROOJ SHAH to prop up the Labour Party? And if you're in negotiations with AROOJ SHAH to prop up the Labour Party, you're in negotiations with her. If you prop up the Labour Party, you are preventing a public inquiry. You're helping her prevent a public inquiry. She can't even bring herself to say the words children. I know Shaw. Shaw did not vote for this. Shaw did not vote for this duplicity. The people of Shaw will not take a bribe of £10,000 or £20,000 in exchange for justice for potentially thousands of our borough's children. That is not in the DNA of the people of Shaw. The Shaw and Crompton Independents are a community group. No, you're a political organisation because you represent. You're a politician who takes £10,000 at least, 20 between you now, more if you sit on committees. You're a political organisation. You can't hide behind the term community group. You're elected politicians, councillors. You're a political group. And we will work for the best outcomes for Shaw and Crompton and the wider community. We will not enter a formal coalition with any party as it is against our core ethos that politics is the problem, not the answer. I mean, that's just a cliche, isn't it? That's just empty rhetoric. But the term formal coalition rears its head again. and it doesn't answer the question. Are you talking to AROOJ SHAH? Are you talking to the Labour Party? Because none of the others are. And we will stand as independents on our own merits in the council chamber. He thinks he's being clever with words. He's not that clever. The question is simple. It was asked of you in good faith by people who voted for you. Are you talking to AROOJ SHAH? And I believe that you all have your answer there, don't you? When we championed MARC and all the others, we championed a type of politics where we hoped we'd get away from this nonsense. Openness, truthfulness, transparency. We don't have to like the answers, but we expect the truth. And this is just we will stand by our beliefs irrespective of slanders, false accusations and intimidation from those who seek to divide us for their own gain. No. The only gain I seek is a public inquiry into the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children. That's the only gain I seek. Is that gain? Where are the false accusations, Mark? You're the one who's leaving drunken messages on people's phones. Where's the slander? We call you a secret Squirrel Society because you're not a formally constituted political organisation and haven't registered with the Electoral Commission, which is what a genuine political organisation would have done. So many words, and he's refused to answer the obvious one, which I think is an answer in itself. My belief is next week when there's a vote for AROOJ SHAH, at best he'll sit on his hands. A vote, nothing to do with Howard Sykes, a vote in support of AROOJ SHAH as leader of the council. At best he'll sit on his hands, at worst he'll stick his hands up and vote with AROOJ SHAH. I think his avoidance of supporting a public inquiry when he knows what one is, and you'll have seen AROOJ SHAH's statement to the local democracy reporter before he released this statement that I've just shared with you half an hour ago. In the history books of our town, names will be recorded. Mark Hince's name will be one of them. Lisa Naif's name will be another. They haven't betrayed you and me. They've done worse than that. They've betrayed every one of us who believed that we could take this town back and make a difference. I hope you found some value in this afternoon. For someone who has no link in this town, apparently I'm going to go and now pick up my daughter from a school in this town. Take her to a swimming baths in this town. And then we'll go for some tea together somewhere in this town. Because this is my town. This is our town. And what these people have done. I use the term very rarely, because I always like to believe there's a way back. But if MARC HINCE and Lisa Navesey next week in any way support AROOJ SHAH, what they will have done is unforgivable.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.